I believe we are live, my friend.
Oh, you muted yourself or something happened. Oh, no. Yeah, okay, we got it. I hear you. No,
Can you
now
hear me fine?
Now you're dropped it. Oh, you're just falling away.
Am I good?
Yeah, now you're good.
Am I good? That's good. Let's just check that this is actually streaming into the group.
Yeah. I'm going into the group, guys. Welcome if you're live. Hello for all you replayers. You can comment in the comments below, #replay, so we know that you watched it in the end after all. And I'm going to check now in the group if you have any questions, if there's some action, if you want to comment, and I'll be there to just connect right there with you.
Ruben, I cannot see it in the group. What the hell? I don't know. What the hell? Do you find it?
Yeah. You're live now. I just get a notification.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So there's a different link, for tonight. So there's a Gerardo Ramos wants to know what the link is.
There is no link. This is a live stream into the Facebook group as communicated.
Right, I'll tell him right away.
1,000,000 times.
Yep.
So on Monday and Friday, I'm going to have the great honor of leading these live streams. On Tuesday through Thursday, Ruben is going to take you through group coaching experiences inside of Zoom. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to be for you men and also for you, Ruben. I think this is going to be an exciting thing for you, huh? So anyway, men, warm welcome to you all. It's very exciting to finally be started with this. I see that many of you have joined us. Full transparency, we are choosing to broadcast this through various channels because we still would really enjoy more men to join us. Of course, when we come to the coaching calls tomorrow, there's going to be no broadcasting. That's going to be a very intimate experience with Ruben and you men. So I don't know if we have a connection. Can I get some fire into the comments inside of Facebook so that I see we are up and running? Get some fire emojis in that chat so I know that we are actually connecting here.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the live stream. There are 3 people watching. So comment in the comment section below, guys. If you're watching this live, put up the hands, whoop, 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 and put up the fire, blah, blah, blah. And then we know it's you. Otherwise, it's silent in here, guys.
Yeah, we need some connection. We have 29 men or 29 people are actually watching, so I think more than 3. But maybe some of them also outside of it. It's live in the Facebook group. Yeah. So guys, good. I'm very welcoming of comments and questions throughout this live stream. I'm going to have Ruben monitoring this so that I can be in my flow and to do my thing, to get on my soapbox and to go rah for an hour. So those of you who haven't experienced me before, maybe some of you won't like me when I'm loud and excited. Take the message for what it's worth, and if you love me, that's also great. I prefer it actually, but it's okay if you don't. So the experience that we're going to be having today is one of establishing. Let's see here. We're going to be establishing the frame for the 5-day challenge, and we are controversial, I'd say. I mean, you're here because on some level you resonated with the message of a sensitive man or a nice guy that needs to reclaim your personal power in order to build the life and world that your heart desires. There's a strong need that so many men are feeling these days to step forth, to step in. But there's so many obstacles out there right now. There's so many opportunities, but it's like the the ether is teeming with monsters that want to take us down, cancel culture and all kinds of weirdness. Who knows what's going on, what's true or not true anymore. And so it's confusing to be someone who is going to deliver a message into the world. And so in order to do that, we need to come to terms with who we are. We need to be really self-aware so that we don't just collapse the moment somebody calls us out. And we also need to have a spine so that we can stand for our principles in a world that isn't always friendly. And whether you just want to build a nice life for yourself and your family, or you actually want to be on stages across the world and you want to have a big, big presence and a big, big impact, more important than presence, the impact, the service. This is something that we all have to deal with. The dragon of self-doubt, as we've been talking about, there's an uncertainty as we step through the gateways of transformation, the gateway to the next level of our life, the evolution that you probably hear because on some level you feel like you want that. If you want an evolution in your life, if that's why you're here in this 5-day challenge, say fuck yeah in the comments right now. Give me a little bit of feedback here and tell me what's going on there, Ruben. I have my screen next to me, but
it's all I hear is crickets, man. I think the guys in the group will have to watch the replay. Or I
don't know
guys.
what you're doing, but I see 33 people watching and 16
but
comments.
Where?
You are not doing your job properly, my friend. No, I think no. There's plenty of stuff happening.
Do you see an overview of all the channels, or do you just look at?
It's possible that there is some kind of delay or some kind of mismatch in timelines, because I see on the screen here that there's a little bit of a different timeline. But man, we have a lot of people with us, so get into that group, Ruben, and ensure that you see the comments. 16 comments.
I see them. More coming. Yeah.
More than
okay, I see them.
More than
I see the
minutes.
fuck yes and let's goes. Yeah. Okay, it's blasting in here. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Got
You're
it.
on.
Right.
You're with
guys. I'm on. I'm with it. I'm with you. Let's go.
We're figuring this out as we go. It's the first time we use this technology, and it's our first challenge. So I'm really excited about this. What about you, Ruben?
Well, stoked, actually. Yeah, this is huge, guys. And this has the potential to just transform how you deal with your boundaries, with your relationships, with your dignity. And I just want that for you. I want you to become dignified and empowered so you can actually open your heart a little bit more and step into that softer side. I've been there. I've overcompensated with my warrior, become really hard and rigid and trying to just figure it out by posturing.
Yeah.
And it broke me and it tears me down and it makes me feel empty. And so there's the balance, and you cannot do that without integrating your power with your heart. That's what we're going to do tonight and coming 4 next days as well. So stay tuned.
Yeah. So our frame here is that men right now, we need to reclaim our personal power. We work with so many men for more than 6 years now in Reclaiming the Throne. We've been working with hundreds of guys that come to us because they want to experience more in their lives. Sometimes it's purpose related, sometimes it's in their relationship. But almost exclusively, the thing that holds them back is a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-trust, a lack of self-love.
A lot of lack right there.
A lot of lack.
Oh my goodness.
And so when you enter into the world on a foundation of lacking self-worth, everything is a compensation strategy. If I work hard, it's to achieve enough so that people can love me. If I recoil from the world, it's because I'm too afraid that people will reject me. So I become a half-life. I sort of shrink. I pull back and my life becomes painted in grays. Color disappears, and the sensitivity that I used to have as a boy, maybe even as a man, it becomes too overwhelming because I am not living up to the wishes and impulses of the voice inside of me, the whisper within. There is a voice, a soul, a purpose that wants to move you. And with all of this lack, trust me, I've experienced this for years. This was my life for so long, which is why I almost lost my frigging mind. And I'm not saying that like it's not hyperbole, it's not metaphors, it's not like marketing, sound bites. I literally mean that I almost lost my mind. I feared that I would end up in a fucking asylum somewhere because I didn't realize that there was something that wanted to move through me that I was shutting down because I was afraid of the intensity of the flame inside. And today, we live in a culture where men have been taught to distrust the flame inside. If you know what I'm talking about, please confirm inside of the messages that on some level, you don't trust the power that wants to move through you. You don't trust that it's good. You don't trust that it's here to serve humanity. You fear that somehow it is going to burn the world down, it's going to hurt people, and so you hold it back. That, or you're just terrified that other people would do the same to you. So we need to...
Yeah, I see some confirmations here. Etienne, George, they're like, yeah, agreed, indeed.
Yeah.
Let's see, Ramon is trying to get on.
Good luck, man. I hope you make it. So we need to reclaim our dignity. That's basically it. And I'm going to ask you for permission here to be completely politically incorrect. Because that is what we do inside of Reclaim Mean Throne, not as a matter of principle, but if you are going to speak truth in the 21st century, you have to be politically incorrect, because the politically correct culture is full of lies, and we don't want to lie here. So ask for permission. Are you ready for some politically incorrect truth?
Then you got the wrong man in front of you, my friends. Yeah.
I don't know. Have you got some confirmations for that?
No, nothing yet. So Ramon, yeah, okay. Oyvind has given you permission. Andrew Gerstner is like, get at it, just blast us. Horvath.
Okay. Now I think
okay. Yeah, go on.
Super. Okay. So here's the deal. For whatever reasons, and there are reasons, historically, men have been very shut down emotionally. Many of you had fathers who were very shut down emotionally. Their hearts were closed. They didn't know how to deal with their emotions, and so they didn't know how to be in relationship with your mother or with you. Maybe you had a different father, but typically this is the kind of man that has been, our lineage has been full of these men. But why? Our culture would say, oh, that's because masculinity is toxic. That's because we need to make men more like women. And maybe there is some truth to the idea that we as men need to reclaim or claim some of our feminine side. But what we don't realize is that all of these men shut down their hearts because they were providers at a point where there wasn't a lot of thriving in our culture. It was a survival culture. So these men had to give their time, energy, and sometimes their life in order to protect and provide for their families. And so they carried the burden of providing. And that was a hard burden because in them, just like in you, there was a voice deep in their heart and soul that spoke to them that they wanted to do something, but they didn't have the opportunity. See? Because the culture and the civilizational context, there wasn't enough thriving in the culture for men to be able to pursue their purpose. And so your father, his father, and so on and so forth, back, they have been shutting themselves down in order to become the walking ATM machine, the provider, the one who brings food and money back home.
And that was a sacrifice, guys. I swear that my father had to make sacrifices to give up the things that he actually loved to do his work, and that work became his new purpose. So instead of music, and maybe I think he was in Gnosticism and reading, a very intellectual guy actually, he sacrificed it, started his business, and then started to thrive and become a provider and protector. And underneath that, I'm sure that he had to sacrifice those youthful, maybe somewhat self-indulgent parts of himself in order to sustain, well, I guess my father went away when I was 3, but to sustain me and my family, and then also his new family. And so there are sacrifices to be made, and there is love in that, even though I feel he's shut down as a result. So leave in the comments if you leave a comment if you recognize this, if you resonate with that, and if your father actually focused more on work than on you. I'll be there.
And because of the way consciousness and culture evolves, we have now seen a 180 in how we look at men and women and masculinity and femininity. It used to be that we lived in a culture that celebrated men and masculinity because they were the heroes, the providers, the sort of chiseled jaw cowboys, whatever. It was a symbol for a certain cultural context that is now fading. And in the fading, in the switch between one paradigm of culture and another, we're seeing everything that we once used to love about men and masculinity be thrown right out, just flushed right out, made wholly bad. Everything about men is now bad, according to our culture, or large parts of our culture. Toxic masculinity, oppression, misogyny, domination, patriarchy, all of these things.
Yeah, and it's ironic as well. It's so ironic because the environment and the culture, they facilitate weakness, because what do we have to do, really? Actually, we're not exposed to hardships that much anymore. And so when a man thrives, he's in service in hardship. That's when you need men to step up, when we need to become powerful, take responsibility, protect and provide, because our lineage depends on it. If we don't do this, we might die, right? And so if our culture, and now it's not necessary anymore, and we can kind of dawdle around and we become weak.
That's changing.
Yeah, well, it's so fascinating. And then there's actually this decline in the necessity for men to become powerful and to be on the hunt all the time. So there is an increase in this feminine energy where, well, you're stay at home, or you're kind of a dimmed down, repressed business guy, right? And this culture seems to facilitate that, and it screams balance. It's like a battle cry towards wholeness, because we are tearing ourselves and our culture apart at the seams, because we do not take responsibility anymore because we didn't have to for, let's say, 100 years.
The reason,
with the wars
though,
excluded, of course.
yeah, great points, Ruben. The reason the responsibility is almost disappearing from culture is because of the diminishing stand that masculinity has in our culture. Responsibility, integrity, loyalty, discipline, generally masculine values. Let us be clear that masculine is not man. It is a typical, or it's a particular kind of energetic. It's a typical kind of doing, being. It's not isolated to men. But what we're seeing in culture, and this is why I'm deeply troubled right now, deeply troubled, is that at the radical periphery of culture, we're trying to drive femininity out of women, and we're trying to drive masculinity out of men. And we are saying that this is something which is good. But what is happening is that we're actually being herded by ideology that is wholly toxic, out of connection with our natural essence. And because we are out of touch with nature, we are losing our wildness. We are losing our sovereignty. We are losing our self-respect, and we're losing our personal power. Because culture right now doesn't like it when individuals are powerful. Our culture right now doesn't like it when individuals claim sovereignty, because we are moving into the time of the hive mind.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very tricky as well, because individuals perpetuate culture. So it's like an internal belief and a voice that speaks through the mouths of millions of people. And when you interact with people, you're not just interacting with a person, but if you're not aware of it, and if they're not aware of it, you may actually encounter the entire ideology through the person's mouths, and you are actually battling the ideologies and beliefs. And so when we say, or when Ivan says culture doesn't like it, it is actually people collectively react negatively or triggered, and react with gaslighting and with putting down. And that's a very concrete example of what happens when culture doesn't like it. It's when people just repress or destroy or try to destroy or cancel others who speak up.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm going to drop a bomb here if you're ready for that. Do you want a bomb?
Yeah, in the comments, guys. Some bombs and fire, and hell yes. Or fuck yes.
I'm going to drop a bomb.
All right.
When you argue that you need to protect nature and the environment, and at the same time you argue that men should become less masculine and women should become less feminine, then you are full of shit. Because if you actually argue that individuals' nature inside of human beings should become less pronounced, and that we should now place mind over matter inside of a human being, how can you possibly place nature over mind in the external world? How can you possibly do environmental protection if you're at the same time attacking nature in human beings? It's impossible. The world is a mirror between micro and macro. It is impossible to be working to preserve the ecosystem and the planet if we are arguing at the same time for the process of making human beings less natural. And so what I'm here to say today is, if you have been poisoned, as so many men have, because we've been working with these men, and I have been one, I was suicidal because I absorbed this shit. This is the kind of stuff that makes men kill themselves or go on a killing spree like they do way too often. Because we don't feel close to our nature. It's painful. It's painful. Because my whole life is a fucking lie. Based on some hand-me-down ideological script that I've been given by people that are completely disembodied themselves. I'm currently apprenticing myself to studying with some very powerful women, and I can tell you this. There isn't one powerful woman in this world who believes that you should be less masculine to be a better person. Not one. The reason why some women might think that is because they're traumatized. And it's on your work to be, perhaps, I don't know, you don't have to, but maybe it's your work to give them a frame to heal. It's up to you. But your masculine power is a gift. Your personal power as a man is a gift. Just like your personal power is a gift for a woman as well. You cannot be in relationship with a powerful woman without claiming your own power. And if you're gay or something else, it's the same. Your partner will never be powerful if you don't yourself choose to claim your personal power. It's impossible. By definition, it's physics. Physics. Is this making sense, guys?
Yes or no, guys? Then we'll elaborate.
Because we're going to move on here. That's okay. I said these things so as to decondition some of the ideological maps that some of you may carry that are completely emasculating, castrating you, and actually making you move away from your sweet, vulnerable, but powerful heart. Your powerful masculine heart.
It's so ironic as well, because women, in my experience, coming from a certain background, perhaps carrying trauma, bad father relationship, that sort of women, they will actually pull you down and try to get you soft, and they will try to take the frame from you. And then if they succeed, and if you can't hold the frame yourself, they will actually start to dictate the pace, and you will dance to their tune. And be especially mindful. I've been with women who have been actually manipulative in that way, and I was being pulled out of my center, and I lost my sense of dignity and control, as if magic, weird fluxes of energies and emotions were pulling me in a direction I didn't want to. And so women actually want you to be strong so they can feel safe. And it's a very confusing trick they play, as if they try to ask you, okay, are you strong enough for me to feel safe? Because otherwise I'm going to take that frame from you, I'm going to fuck you up, and you're going to like it, or at least think you like it, and we're getting in this codependent existence. And so that's really the tricky part in relationships, where you have to be very, very mindful.
This is when we're trauma bonding.
This is when we're
trauma bonding. This is trauma bonding. This is when we relate from our wounds. I've done this. We relate from our wounds instead of celebrating each other's power. Let us be clear. Men and women stand together in the work to reclaim our personal power. Men who claim their personal power and women who claim their personal power, they are unpopular with everyone who chooses not to. It's just the way it is. So let's define power. And this is important, guys. This is important because the way that power is often defined is that it's sort of the power of position. You have a position that makes you powerful, like a president or a king or a CEO or whatever. And sure, there is a certain power in that. But if this man, who is president, shall we say, CEO, is completely incongruent with that voice inside of him, if he's not true to his nature, He's not true to who he truly is, his incarnational purpose, if you will, the reason he was born. He, in my definition, and I would say in any sane definition of power, he is not powerful because he's living a lie. Doesn't matter if he's the president or the king or the CEO, whatever, he's living a lie. He's not powerful. And according to this definition, I'm going to make it more explicit, but someone living on the fucking street can be more powerful than a president if they're living true to themselves, in my definition of power. This is not the definition of power that has to do with position. This is about congruence, the power of true purpose. And it happens when we start to be fully on our own team. It starts to happen when the energy, the impulses, the intuitions that run through our mind, body, soul, spirit, they run freely because we are fully embracing of ourselves. We like it. We like being me. We like being us. And so we don't try and shut ourselves down all of the time. This is why powerful people always speak the truth. Because the moment that you lie, you shut yourself down. You stop the energy from flowing. So it's impossible to be sovereign, to be powerful, to be even remotely happy while at the same time living a lie. Doesn't work. Because lying, as I said, it shuts down the life force. And power is life force. When you own your personal power, it is because you are channeling your life force fully. And it's a spectrum. So how much on a scale from 1 to 10 are you now being a full fuck yes to your life force as it presents itself to you on a daily basis? Let's get some numbers in the chat. 1 is little.
10, yeah.
10 is I'm fully allowing my life force, my personal power. Let's get some numbers. 1 is not at all. 10 is fully.
Yeah. How much are you fully owning your life force? 1 to 10. Andrew Gerstner rocking it with an 8/9.
Awesome.
That's powerful. Linus 8.
Then you're already a leader.
Yeah, coming in with a 3. Horvath a 2. Carl Nate, Carl Dustin. Yeah, Jake and Alex coming in with 6s. Definitely, there can be more power for you guys, yeah? You feel there's more to life. You feel like you're not fully stepping into who your potential is, who you can be. That's right, guys.
Beautiful.
Is it true?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. I'd say I'm on a 7 or 8 myself at this point, but maybe even a 6, because here's the thing. If you give yourself a very high score, you say, I don't have potential to grow. So it may be true, but if I were to give myself the score of 9 now, I'd say I can only grow just a little bit. And it's hard to define these things precisely. It's no scientific scale or measurement for this, but just something to feel into. So
yeah, very true.
Now that we have defined power, we're going to talk about the primal self. And now I hope it's starting to become clear why the exercise today is to go through at least one conversation. I was going to say at least 2, Ruben, but then you got ahead of me and you said at least 1. So I don't want to change it now. But it's my preference that you do 2.
At least 1.
At least 1. So the whole purpose, right, of the exercise that you've been given free or complimentary access to some of the one of the tools that we use inside of Reclaiming the Throne membership called the Forge, and we also use it on the Reclaiming the Throne initiation, where it's just a ton of other tools as well. This tool has been designed for you to acquaint yourself with the parts of you that you are shutting down. Because every time that you are being triggered, and this is the beauty of it, this is why annoying people are so fantastic. People that I find annoying, they are fantastic because they're pointing to the parts of me that I'm shutting down. Yeah? There is something in me that is triggered. For instance, for me, one of the things that annoys me the most in the whole wide world is when software doesn't work. And it annoys me like 10 times as much when I know it's not my fault. I know it's not my fault, that the software is broken, and now I need to reach out to support and fucking ask them to fix the software. And this is what happened over the last 24 hours with us being a little delayed with putting out these things. And then I actually did a conversation with the creature and the child because I was fucking annoyed. And then I realized, again, this is my perfectionism that has so little tolerance for the mistakes of others that I just fly into a flaming fury when somebody else has made a mistake. And what does that mean? It means that I become really debilitated in my capacity to make an impact in the world, because every step of the way, I will fear that some fucker like me is going to come and complain that I did something wrong. And this is what people do. They try to be king killers, They try to take leaders down, and then they think they're being virtuous. Oh, another leader being canceled. What does that do for them? Completely undermines their capacity to have an impact in the world for good. Because now, in them, they have wired themselves to believe that when they step forth, they are going to be canceled. And you know what? That's almost always what happens. The people who cancel end up being canceled. Just watch it. It's karmic, you see? It's karmic. And so that's the point. There are parts in me that I don't want to look at because it's raw. My wounds and my trauma is connected to this shit. And so I want to tease them apart. And I will find then that the wounds, they land in one of two categories. Something around my vulnerability, something that makes me go in, something that makes me feel vulnerable. It could be that I didn't feel loved enough, that I didn't feel validated, maybe some things around shaming of sexuality, so on and so forth. And then there is the other part that goes out. There is something beastly inside of you, brother. And this is what you're afraid of, probably, if you don't step forth fully. There is a red fire inside of us all as men. I believe it lives in women as well. It's beastly. It's an animal. Freud called it the id.
Mm-hmm.
Very primitive. Pre-verbal. It's just fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, fuck. It's the reptilian brain, really. It really is. And all of the patterns around power and taking up space and being dignified, having boundaries and stuff is connected to that very primal wiring. And this is the point, is that at the very bottom, at the very root of our psyche, we have two archetypes, and we call them the creature and the child. The child being that innocent raw part, your heart, your sensitivity that you probably have quite a lot of because you're here. If we targeted you correctly, you have a lot of sensitivity. I do as well. Ruben does as well. But that doesn't mean that we can't also be powerful. And this is where so many of us get polarized. Either only powerful and no heart, and just heart and no power. And so what do you haven't, yeah? I think this relates to what you spoke about earlier, Ruben. about you
Yeah,
posturing and you like being a warrior and
yeah, and just trying to be strong while it's not actually coming from a true solid place. It comes from a compensatory. It's a compensatory function. It actually comes from an insecurity of not being good enough for me. So I try to be more, because what if I don't do it right, or if I don't do something good enough? Am I still good enough? So it's just work, 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 achieve, perform. And I lose connection with that sensitivity, with that vulnerability, and I become empty. And that's the balance that I spoke of, that
yeah,
is required for you to feel whole inside of yourself.
yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. And so this is not just something that men have. And so we had a question here. I forgot this man's name. It's down in the comments where I can't scroll. And he asked, well, define masculinity. And it seems that masculinity is often attached to gender, which is, of course, very confusing, and was for me as well. But masculinity seems to be more a set of energies that men inherently have easier access to. And that also includes being more, let's say, men have a specific way of dealing with their id, with their yeah, Robert Soot wanted to know how to define masculinity. And usually if from this demonization from the feminist culture, it is as if the culture and feminism says, well, men have this creature, and that is them. They are identified with that, and that is evil. And it's actually a wrong assumption, because women have it too, and it's actually universal. Just
Hmm.
like feminine energy and masculine energy is also present in both, and it's actually depending on the person how much of that energy is present or expressed at any given time. And this is very interesting with gay people, for example. It's just a matter of looking at the energies in that case. Do you have anything to add in terms of the definition of masculinity, Ivan?
I don't think I want to spend time on that right now. I could say this. There is something linear about masculinity. There's something agentic about masculinity, whereas femininity is more circular. It's more receptive.
Yep.
Yeah, and we can paint with really broad strokes here, but typically the genitalia is a good representation of the gendered expression. So that the erect cock is linear, the open, receptive, wet pussy that's ready to receive. That's the same. The vagina, and the womb. It's a vessel, and the womb, is kind of like a cup, and it's often compared with a chalice or even the grail. And
Mm-hmm.
so consider it in that light. But I'd be happy to address some of these more details inside of the group for the
Yep.
challenge later on. But I'm
Yeah, let's
going
do
to
that.
I'm going to I'm going to drop a couple more bombs here. I think they're a little bit bombs, or maybe they're just a Chinese firecracker or something like that. But I because it makes me feel good, I'm going to say it's a fucking bomb. Um, it's it's the case that these two, creature and child, they are in relationship with each other. The creature actually, on some level, defends the child. There is an instinctual sort of survival response, a kind of, a fire, a savageness inside of us that, unless integrated, that child inside of us, the raw, vulnerable sensitivity, is completely exposed. Which means that it's impossible to support innocence and to support the people who are vulnerable while at the same time attacking the primal and the savage. That's the bomb. You can't. See? Because when you remove that from the equation, the sensitive part is completely exposed. And that's why people haven't done the work of looking at their primal self and to check and inquire into the depth of capacity that they have for darkness and destruction. The people who haven't done that are not in a conscious relationship with the creature. And because they are not in a conscious relationship with the creature, they can only see the creature outside of themselves. This is a peculiar feature of the human psyche. What I'm not willing to see in myself, I will see outside of myself pretty much everywhere. Because that part of me is a part that I'm so scared of that I'm not willing to welcome it home into my conscious psyche. I'm not willing. I'm not willing. Which is why it's important for us as men to own that, yes, there is a murderer that lives inside of us. Yes, there is a rapist that lives inside of us. Yes, there is a fucking asshole misogynist that lives inside of us. Yes. And if you're a sensitive nice guy, a white knight, as I think, or as I call them, that are so convinced, you're so convinced that you're pure and holy, you are the most dangerous man that is walking on planet Earth. You are the most dangerous man because you have no concept of the level of evil that you're capable of wielding. And in a moment of great stress, you will be the first one to fall prey to it. That's why the creature needs to be integrated. That's why the culture that we live in these days, that don't allow for, in the conversation we're having about masculinity, that don't allow for men to be powerful. That is why that culture creates people, men, who go out and shoot up a supermarket. They shoot up a school. They shoot up a cinema. They shoot up a library. They shoot up a church or a mosque. Because we are trying to make everyone so sweet and so politically correct that we don't want to look at that stuff and pretend that it's just him. It's just him. He was fucked up. We didn't have the courage as a culture to realize it's systemic. We are creating the monster that we are trying to avoid. And you, my brother, you can become a cultural renegade this week. You can become someone who is so aware of the potential for carnage that lives inside of you that you come to claim your actual genuine power. And now you have transformed the red fire, the darkness, the beast, the creature inside of you. You have transformed him into someone who protects innocence. And so now your heart can open because you feel safe. You don't feel afraid that other people are going to come and plant a knife right in your vulnerability, because now you are safe. And that means that you can love freely, uninhibitedly. Is that the word? Something like that.
Uninhibited, I guess.
It's a difficult word. So that's the bomb. I hope that's a little bit of a bomb. It's a little bit of a bomb. So the exact things that we're trying to do as a culture to prevent these school shootings and shit happening is the very thing that is making it happen. Because we are so stupid when it comes to power and the primal self and masculinity. And this week, if you came with any of that into this container, I'm going to promise you, if you do your work, that by the end of this week, you have been completely deconditioned from this fucking nonsense. And when that's happened, you become safe. And now you can be a stand in the world for what is good and for what is true and for what is beautiful. You will be a sensitive man who has reclaimed your personal power and is ready to build the life and the world that your heart desires. Does that sound good to you? And give me some fucking fire in these comments.
Put up the fire, guys. And remember that the deconditioning can take a while, depending on how long you have been conditioned to play nice, to please, in order to get your needs met. And in fact, you need to unlearn that whole strategy, because I recognize I've lived with this myself. I was too afraid to be myself because I was afraid to be rejected and not get that love, while in fact the opposite is there. And that is something that you must experience again and again, that when you do speak up, that people respect you, and that even when your mother or your girlfriend or someone else, a woman that, a mother, that was almost a Freudian slip, a woman who is actually holding you down, she may react violently or get triggered or try to emotionally manipulate you. But in the end, when you stand up for yourself, take time for yourself, set boundaries, tell the truth. And I'm struggling with this myself sometimes. Then you, even though they will react violently and try to do their best to get you back into the conditioned model, they'll be glad you did, because actually it clears the air and they can trust you again. And that is something that you have to practice over and over and over and over if this is really deep. And these are going to be, these are the tools that you can use along your journey to just strip yourself bare. And if you work hard this week, commit yourself to the conversations and join us on these live coaching calls as well, and do your homework, then a huge part of your deconditioning has started. So join us there, and we'll support you in making that happen. Yeah. How does that sound, guys? Fire it up.
I love seeing this fire. Jesus, guys, I love it. This is fun. I'm going to drop my last bomb for today. My last bomb. If you, in your attempt to be nice to people, and often for the sensitive man, it's for someone who is female. If you're trying to be nice to women by shutting down your power, you are shutting down their femininity. You are oppressing their embodied femininity by oppressing your masculine power. Because the moment you do that, you believe, because this is the frame that you hold for yourself, you believe that she and everyone else, no matter race, gender, whatever, that they are incapable people, that cannot stand in their own power, that cannot stand in their own self, and to thrive in the world. And so everything you will fucking do is to speak into their smallness and to make them smaller than they actually are, so that you will feel comfortable that you're not alone with sacrificing your own power to be politically correct. This is the way nice guys are the worst fucking misogynists among us men.
And it runs deep. It's tricky, man. I mean, the conditioning is just, it's like, it's how our brains, because I've also run this path. Our brains are wired that way, to believe that that is actually helpful, beneficial, and will get you a safe life and get your needs met. And Robert Glover talks a lot about it in his book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. It's really good. So if you really struggle, take it as a complimentary resource, and just remember that it runs so deep. It's just brutal. So even if you cognitively think, yeah, actually, I don't want to do that, I want to be really a wholesome person, you can't get out of the conditioning. You need to decondition yourself, because it's just, if it runs deep, you cannot just decide not to do it. You have to practice it, and practice it again and again and again.
Yeah. I think we've done our job, Ruben. I think it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, good. We have 4 more minutes, guys, and then we're going to close the show.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Do you feel served, man? Is this helpful? Is it helping you decondition some of the things that keep you smaller than you need to be? I would love to hear.
Yeah,
like
put it down in the
yes.
comments.
Like
Yeah,
fuck
I
yeah,
have
it's
one more
helping.
thing to add. Because life without connection to your primal self is actually not so fun. For I mean, I love raging and roaring once in a while, but it unlocks my joyful, playful, happy, bubbling, boyish side. I can run through the woods and climb trees and enjoy the little things. I can be amazed by the colors of the sheen, the color display of beetles on the ground, or see the ants just create their insane pathways, and I'm amazed. And if I'm not connected to my creature, I'm also not connected to that loving, wholesome, maybe even mystical side of myself. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe that a lot of you
yeah,
guys actually love to be in that place. But it's time
yeah.
to not only flee into that mystical nature connecting, merging space, but to balance that out with your power, your boundaries, your dignity, so that you can not just flee into that fantasy nature world, but actually wholesomely enjoy it and connect to it from your center. And
Yeah,
that's
great.
what I believe, that you'll have way more fun in your life and joy when you do this work, when you decondition yourself and when you connect to that primal self inside of you that will hold your child safe, because he wants to feel safe before he will come out to play. And remember that, guys.
Yeah, beautiful,
Remember that this
beautiful.
week.
Thank you for confirming that this has been helpful for you, man. I feel so fucking honored to have you all be here and to listen to this. It's amazing. It's yeah, it's a real treat and a real joy for me, and I see that with you as well, Ruben. And I hope that we have given you adequate motivation for digging into the conversation with the creature and the child. Pick something that triggers you about the world. Pick something, someone that trigger you, and then dive in there to your primal self. Uncover the creature, uncover the child. And you, in the tool, you also have the opportunity to focus in on just the creature or just the child. We've given you the flexibility to do that, but I believe that the best experience is to do the whole thing. And so for those of you who still want to be part of this 5-day challenge and are still outside, just use the URL here, 5daystopersonalpower.com with the 5 in the digit 5, and we still have room for you guys. It's entirely free and just a joy to be sharing and to be in service. And finally, we're going to be running another competition.
Yeah, fire it up. Announcement.
And I'm going to post a post inside of the group. This is for those of you men who feel inspired by this point and you want to enroll some of your brothers into this training with you. We're going to reward those of you, the 3 most successful men in doing that, with a completely free access to our very much loved Ultimate Intro to Masculine Archetypes training. It's a value of $179. It's a training that men are really getting a ton of value out of, and that you get to enjoy after this challenge is over. If you want to get some fired up brothers inside of this experience and to keep working on your personal power with some quality brotherhood at your side. So that's what we have. I believe that's time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. And I hope that this was really helpful and inspiring to you, so you can do the work with more dedication and more commitment, because you will get out of it what you put in. And it is always like that, but it is certainly with the deconditioning. So join me tomorrow at 7 p.m. Oslo time for a coaching session with me and the guys. So I hope you're ready. Stay tuned. And thanks so much for joining us today. Let's rock it.
Yeah, man. We'll see you in the group. And remember one last thing. When we open the guide for day 2 tomorrow, there will be a Q&A section there, just like for day 1. We want you to ask questions that are relevant for you inside of the coaching container in the Q&A. that makes it easier for Ruben, essentially, to serve you men in a very efficient, potent, focused way. Okay, so we will prioritize men who ask a question inside of the Q&A. Thank you so much. Thank you for the fire. Thank you for the engagement. I can't wait to see what you're going to get out of this week. And I'm so proud of you for being here, for us having put this together. I'm proud of all of us. So let's rise and claim that personal power. Have a great day. See you
man.
soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.